on, I guess, to have, like I said, 3 amazing children by 3 very different men. And so I would add the label of slut to that as well, because society tends to really look down on women who have children from different fathers. You know, what's wrong with you? Couldn't you stay with one man? And unfortunately, that is a real bias that we come up against as women, you know. And yet the thing was, I had 3 children by 3 different men, mainly because I didn't have a strategy for how to love myself, how to set the bar of what was acceptable in love, behaviour, intimacy. You know, I had what I learned when I was 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. Yeah. So I think going from that sort of life of where sex has been my measure of worth, right up till probably I was about, maybe even 35, 36 years old, even after I'd had my 2 daughters, I still had this belief so deep within me that the only way I was going to get ahead in life and survive was if I could use sex to do it. And yet I was doing everything in my power to protect I had 2 daughters by that stage, to protect them from repeating my cycle, you know. And that all that did, to be honest, was create this internal conflict that ended up having me committed to a psych ward, because I would often overdose on sleeping tablets, anything to make the days go quicker. My 2 girls, for a good couple of years there, when they were quite young in primary school, would actually get themselves up and off to school because mum was too busy passing out in bed. And I just didn't move. So I was put into a psych institution to get help with that. And I think it was on the back end of that, you know, it's those memories of a friend of mine bringing my daughters to the psych institute to visit me. And I remember so vividly looking at them across the table and wanting to talk to them. And all I could feel was the drool coming down my mouth. I was that drugged up because of my mental state.
Wow. And
it was at that point, I really feel like that was a turning point for me, that no one was going to save me. No one was going to save me. And so I remember thinking, well, to save my girls, I had to save this girl first. That's what had to happen. Yeah. So I think, and I mean, at that time, I was actually in a same-sex relationship as well, because there's so many twists and turns in this tale of Ali. My second partner, he was a youth minister at a church in Australia here. And, you know, that was one of the paths I went down. I thought, maybe if I give my life to God and be around church people, maybe that will save me. Isn't that what they preach? You know, if you give your life to God, you'll be saved. And I went there looking for safety and to be saved. And that partner who I had my second daughter with, that did not go as planned either. And, you know, my sexual past turned into a sexual fantasy for him. It's what he wanted me to live out for him so that it worked for him. So I really wasn't getting saved there either. And I made the decision against probably more popular belief where you stay together for the kids. No. There's got to be more to life.
Isn't that fascinating? You know, because the campaign that the International Women's Day have been doing is obviously break the bias. And, listening to all this stuff, it's all bias. It's all like, I'm speechless.
It's like a big
I'm actually speechless.
It's a bias buffet, Adam.
It really is.
Buffet. So because he was so big in the church, when I decided to leave the marriage, because it was not a good marriage, and I went into a same-sex relationship from that, again, seeking that safety, seeking to be saved. And I thought, maybe if I'm with a woman, hey, that sounds like a plan. Let's give that a go. However, because I did that, the church actually came down quite hard on me and used to do quite terrible things, used to egg our house and really yell out quite nasty things in the main streets and in the shopping centres and things like that. So I actually sued the church, believe it or not.
Wow.
And I was the first person in Australia to successfully sue a religious organisation. So that's an interesting story all on its own. So as a result of that, I now was a single mother, 2 beautiful young daughters, and I'm drooling in a psych institute. And that's when I started really looking into what made me tick. And I just went on a quest, I guess, because what I realised, and it's become more and more apparent as I've got older, is that the labels we take on externally, that's what we paint ourselves with, and that's what we use to set our bar of what we're capable of. And there was something in me that said, you are capable of so much more, and yet you won't go further than the bar that has been set for you by society, by the world around you.
Your identity.
Yeah. And I call it the victim default setting. Have you ever had that experience, Adam, where if someone learns that you've, been a victim of something, automatically their expectations of you lowers.
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying that to put anyone else down or anything like that. It's simply a fact that people will expect less of you if you have been a victim of something, And so then we start applauding people for doing things that we wouldn't necessarily applaud someone else who hadn't been affected by something,
Also, it's really interesting because I had this conversation the other day, but with a perspective of, is that then, because a lot of people don't know they're narcissistic, their neurology is not in the right place to understand the behaviour. So when they see so when they come across somebody that's in a victim mentality, it's immediate prey. So, so just from one person to another person to another person having the same kind of experience. It's because you have the ability, so you have on one side the person with the identity of this is my lot in life, and somebody with the identity of you're here to do my bidding in any way, shape or form, and you're crazy for thinking anything different. No, you didn't do that, you didn't think that. And I was like, wow. So, but actually it's quite amazing how both parties can be blissfully unaware.
Exactly, that's the thing.
So it's like, so you've got two parties being, wronged, but they don't think it's wrong.
They don't think it's wrong. And also, I think another layer to that is that they don't want to always see that they may have a part to play in it as well.